In 1884, a young schoolteacher boarded a train in Memphis, Tennessee, holding nothing but a ticket she had legally purchased and a belief that the law meant something, that justice meant something, that America meant something. And within minutes, that belief would be tested in a way that would shape history forever. Because when the conductor ordered her to leave the first-class ladies' car and move to the segregated section, she refused. Not loudly, not violently, but firmly. And when he tried to drag her out, she held onto her seat with such determination that witnesses later said it took 3 men to remove her, and that woman's name was Ida B. Wells. She did not cry, she did not beg, she sued. At a time when most people were too afraid to challenge the system, Ida took the railroad company to court and won. Briefly, before the decision was overturned by a higher court. And in that moment, many would have accepted defeat. Many would have returned quietly to teaching. Many would have told themselves that survival was enough. But Ida was not interested in survival. She was interested in truth. She began writing. What started as newspaper columns slowly became something far more dangerous because Ida B. Wells did not simply report events, she investigated them. And in the 1890s, one of the darkest realities in America was lynching, often justified through lies printed in newspapers, lies claiming crimes that were never proven, lies used to maintain fear and control. And when 3 of her close friends were murdered by a mob in Memphis after successfully opening a grocery store that competed with a white-owned business, something inside her shifted permanently. This was no longer theoretical injustice. This was personal. She picked up her pen not as a teacher, but as a weapon of truth. She began documenting cases one by one, carefully, methodically, exposing that many lynching victims had never committed the crimes they were accused of, exposing that economic competition, political influence, and racial terror were the real motives, and the more she wrote, the more dangerous she became. Her newspaper office was destroyed by a mob while she was out of town. She was warned never to return to Memphis. Friends told her to stop, leaders told her to be cautious, but revenge, in its most powerful form, is not rage, it is relentless exposure. Ida traveled across the United States, gathering data long before data journalism was a term, publishing pamphlets filled with names, dates, locations, and documented inconsistencies, forcing America to confront a truth it wanted buried. And when local voices tried to silence her, she took her message overseas, speaking in England and Scotland, telling international audiences what was happening in the American South. Imagine the courage it required in the 1890s for a black woman to stand before foreign crowds and criticize her own country, not because she hated it, but because she demanded it be better. She understood something powerful. If local systems protected injustice, global attention could pressure change. And it worked. International newspapers began questioning American officials, diplomatic embarrassment grew, conversations shifted. Her revenge was unfolding not through destruction, but through illumination. She married attorney Ferdinand Barnett and continued writing, organizing, and advocating, co-founding civil rights organizations, and helping lay groundwork that would later influence groups like the NAACP, though she herself was often pushed aside by male leaders who were uncomfortable with her independence and refusal to compromise. Yet, even when marginalized within reform movements, she did not retreat. She kept documenting, she kept speaking, she kept writing. And here is the part history sometimes overlooks. Ida B. Wells did not live to see the full transformation she fought for. She did not witness the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s. She did not see federal civil rights legislation pass, but the data she gathered, the narratives she preserved, and the international awareness she sparked became foundational to those later victories. The same system that tried to remove her from a train seat had underestimated her resolve. They believed force would silence her. Instead, it sharpened her. They believed intimidation would stop her. Instead, it expanded her reach. Her revenge was not aimed at a single conductor, or a single newspaper editor, or even a single mob. Her revenge was aimed at a narrative, and she dismantled it piece by piece. By the early 20th century, Ida B. Wells had become one of the most respected investigative journalists in America. Though respect did not always come with comfort or wealth, she sacrificed safety, reputation, and sometimes alliances to remain uncompromising in her demand for truth. When she ran for public office later in life, it was not because she sought power for herself, but because she believed representation mattered, because she understood that laws are shaped by those who write them, and silence benefits only those already in control. She died in 1931, not in disgrace, not in obscurity, but as a pioneer whose work would echo decades later in classrooms, courtrooms, and movements. Today, her name is studied in universities, her investigative methods are praised in journalism schools, monuments stand in her honor, and the irony is undeniable. The woman once physically removed from her seat is now permanently seated in history. That is revenge. Not revenge fueled by destruction, but legacy built through truth. Her story teaches something profound. When systems humiliate you, when power attempts to diminish you, you have a choice between immediate anger and long-term impact. And Ida chose impact. She chose documentation over destruction, exposure over eruption, and in doing so, she changed the moral conversation of a nation. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge is refusing to disappear. Sometimes the most devastating response to injustice is becoming undeniable. And perhaps that is why her story still resonates, because it reminds us that history is not only shaped by those in power, but by those brave enough to challenge it with nothing more than a pen, a voice, and an unbreakable will.